Hi, I'm Liz from the Dabbler Depot, and today I'm here to talk to you about our new beer, or at least new to us. It's actually Old World beer, and there's a lot to learn and a lot of history, so let's get started. I am particularly excited to bring you all of these beers because they are hard to source and somewhat rare to get. One of the exciting things about Old World beer is that a lot of American beer are based off of those styles. So we have the Saison over here. You might have had a Saison before at one of your local breweries, but this is actually a true Saison. So we're going to kind of go through some of the original kind of characteristics that everyone models after. There's also going to be some terminology on some of these bottles that you might not see on American labels, and we're going to walk you through those too. When we're talking Old World, does not get any older than Mead. Mead is actually one of the oldest fermented products from Europe. It is created by using honey, water, and then yeast. Certain ones actually do add a lot of other adjuncts afterwards. We have hibiscus, and this one also is hopped. That kind of gives it a little bit more of a balanced characteristic. Usually with mead, most people find it to be a little bit too sweet. It is considered honey wine. This one is actually labeled honey wine, but you actually kind of want to depart a little bit from that wine idea and kind of think of it more as like wine meets cider meets beer for kind of like a really interesting, easy drinking beverage. All right, next we have a Belgian Saison. Saison is actually French for season, and the Saisons themselves originated in the French-speaking part of Belgium. This is a beautiful, amazing beer and one of the best high bar standards of what a Saison could be. What you're going to have from a lot of Saisons is some estery, kind of spicy characteristics. It's going to be high in carbonation. It's usually going to be low in bitterness and low in ABV. One of the other wonderful things about Saison as compared to the Old World into kind of the American or kind of the New World style is this is going to be a lot spicier. This is going to be it dialed up. There's going to be a little bit of kind of that barnyard characteristic that kind of comes through, but it is honestly just very effervescent and lovely to drink. Next we have Oude Kriek. It's another product of Belgium. And breaking down the label here, we have Oude Kriek. Oude meaning old. It actually is made of a young lambic, so usually a year old blended with a 2 to 3 year old lambic. Which kind of causes a second fermentation. It's actually aged 3 years in oak barrels. And then we have Kriek here, and Kriek is cherry. The cherry that they use is actually real black cherry as well, which is really beautiful. And it gives it a nice red color in here as well. I would say that this style of beer is actually the ancestor for a lot of the, I would say, fruited kettle sours that you drink here in America. It kind of creates a nice, tarty, fruity, kind of refreshing beverage. Next we have a Pilton Somerset Keeved Cider. One of the really interesting things about this is Keeved is actually a very old world and actually very skilled process in producing cider. A lot of the American ciders or the local ciders that you'll find, they're actually fermented till they're dry and then back sweetened depending on how sweet they want the cider to kind of create some of those sugars or at least a little bit more of that sweetness that some people think of when they think of cider. The keeving process, they actually use the yeast in such a way that the yeast don't ferment all the sugars out, and so when the yeast don't eat all those sugars, there's actually that residual sweetness, creating a nice light and refreshing cider. Next we have a 2019 Biere de Garde. Biere de Garde kind of meaning beer to keep. I would definitely say that this is less of what you're thinking of when you think of a Biere de Garde and more closer to a Flanders red style. It's going to be super fruity, super sour. It's going to have a lot of those raisin notes, and it's going to be really red in color. That comes from, I would say, like a lot of the barrel aging process, as well as the malts that are used in it. One of the nice things is that this is literally a 2019 beer, so it is good to drink now, but you can also keep it for a few years and see how it develops over time. Next, we have one of literally my favorite beers in the world. We have Aventinus. We actually have two different vintages in store. We have a 2010 and we have a 2012. So this is Germany's oldest wheat brewing brewery in Bavaria. Doppelbock itself means double bock. So it's actually going to be a lot richer, a lot maltier, have a little bit more mouthfeel. There's also just like tons of notes of fruit, dark fruits like cherries, raisins. There's also going to be chocolate in there as well. One of the beautiful things about these beers specifically is it's created with open fermentation, but then they're actually put into bottles and meant to age. So the longer these are in bottles, and they actually don't release them for 2 years into the public, and then they also expect you to wait on them a little bit, they develop more port and sherry-like characteristics. So really, the older they get, the more beautiful they are, like wine, which is unlike a lot of beer. Usually beer, you want to drink it as fresh as possible, and that's just kind of the way that they want you to do it. But this is how this one is supposed to be served. So we have already opened this one, but you can kind of see here that this one has a really pretty wrapper on it, which actually coincides as a history lesson. And it lets you know what kind of fun things were happening in 2010, like who won the Olympics and who also won the Super Bowl that year. So while you're enjoying this beautifully aged beverage, you can also learn a little something. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I hope you learned a little something about Old World beer, as well as how to decipher maybe an Old World beer label. We do have more than this selection here on this table. We are also going to be getting a bunch of fun winter seasonals too. So be sure to stop by and let us know if you have any questions or come show off your own knowledge. And we'll see you here. Cheers.